I will never get used to that. I'm always ill prepared. Like the timing, I'm like, okay, I know it's gonna cut to me, but then I'm always looking down at my phone because I'm not ready for the transition. Hi guys. It was a nice Memorial Day weekend. Me and Kaylee went live and we shared some personal things about how we view Memorial Day. I hope that touched a lot of people and everybody had a great time memorializing all the ones we lost before us and how eternally grateful we are to even be here in this great land we call America. Now, of course, I'm not in America, but technically I am on federal soil, so that makes me in the US. Hi, guys. How is everybody doing? Matta, Jonathan, my guy, what's up? What's up? What's up? Hey, everybody, drop your locations. I have a special guest with me. His name is David Seifer. He is an assemblyman in District 22 in New Jersey. We're going to be talking to him about his policies, what he's got in store for New Jersey. Of course, we're going to hit some current events, some cultural topics. That's what everyone knows me for. Thank you all for being here. But before we get started, because we are dealing with the shadow ban, I need everybody to share this live. Please. There are literally 5 people on YouTube. Don't know why that's happening. 9 people on Cash's page. Do me a favor. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the share button. Hit the notification bell. Oh, everybody's notification just went out. Make sure you please share this. Drop your locations. We'll be saying hi. I'm going to bring my guest on in a minute. Hey, sister. Hello, Christine. Hi, everybody. Colorado's here. Oklahoma. Boise. That's the first I've seen from there. Nice. Illinois. Some weird stuff is always going on with Facebook. But let me bring my guest on. Welcome to Matta. David, how you doing?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm honored and happy to be here.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Really do. I love to talk to different people running, people that are current, because the American people need to know what they're in store for and what they're getting. We haven't had too many honest politicians. Which politicians aren't honest? So we'll just say you're an American first, just like Darius says.
Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that as a compliment. I'll take that.
I'm going to let you introduce yourself. I do this to all my guests so that everybody can, you give a better introduction than I do. So I'm going to let you take over for a bit.
Okay, well, I'm going to make this great. First off, my name is David Seifer. I'm assemblyman running in District 22 of New Jersey. And just to give a little background of myself, when I started in the Republican Party a couple of years ago, around the time I think Mitt Romney was running for president, I was very fortunate because I ran with a group of people, wonderful people, that were Republican activists. Let me put it that way. We fed the homeless. We gave out books to children. We dealt with community issues. And even though at the time I didn't want to run, it was a blessing for me because this is the platform and this is the foundation that I have been given, right? So now that I'm in public service, I'm used to feeding the homeless. I'm used to talking with kids. I'm used to seeing what the problems are, getting a broad consensus and how can we fix the problem? How can we reach across party lines? And you want a leader like that, right? You want somebody who has some type of service in dealing with the public, right? You don't want somebody when you call them, you can't get to them, or even worse, they're handpicked by their own party to follow whatever orders that they've been hand chosen to pick. So I think that my background gives me the type of leadership necessary to carry out the will of the people.
I like that. It's awesome that you even said it. You ran with a group of people and they were Republican activists. Before we get there, I just want to know what your policies are. Look, I'm excited to talk.
Yeah, I definitely want as many people to hear me as possible. So first off, let me just run down some policies for you. I'm going to start with economics because what's going on now is that people are feeling like there's a quality of life crisis, right? Look at these big cities, right? Look at New Jersey, look at California, look at New York. People are feeling like I have to enter the upper class just to make ends meet, right? The cost of living is outrageous. So there's a quality of life crisis, or people feel like they're in a quality of life crisis. So what I came up with, not me alone, but great people that I was surrounded with, is an economic agenda, right? Very diverse, very urban, and it's also, a living contract. So what's going on now is that we live in the age, people don't realize we live in the age of AI, right? It's a wonderful robotics. You have what is that, nanotechnology in hospitals. You got 5D or 3D printer, 3D printers, 5G, all of these wonderful things which makes our life better, but at the same time it changes the nature of work, and people can't get the education fast enough to keep up with how fast technology is going. So as soon as you get that degree, the nature of work has already changed, right? So what I want is a living contract that includes paid internship, right? Paid apprenticeship, because we don't work for free, right? So paid apprenticeship for jobs of the future. Well, what are jobs of the future? Jobs that's going to be around after AI, right? You have the sectors that service the machine. You got welders, right? You got infrastructure. You got STEM, right? Nursing will be around, right? All of these service jobs which pay more than a living wage. You know, nurses get a great salary. Welders get a great salary. All the vocational, all of those jobs that are going to propel us to the future, those are the jobs that's in this living contract. So you sit down with a representative. We include a paid internship to jobs of the future, and it's a living contract because they help with debt restoration. They help with tips on financial planning, mortgage buying, how home ownership is important, even up until helping you with the down payment. So it's living it includes every area of life. And it's pushing you to jobs where you can have that job for 30 years and retire, not a job where you get it and they say, well, robots are going to replace you. So now you're back on the market, right? You're back on the market. And people deserve, we as leaders, we have to present the opportunity. I'm not saying give people a handout, but we got to give people a hand up. People are looking for the opportunity. Let's keep pushing the opportunities. Let's just keep pushing, because there's opportunities out there, but there's still that skills gap, right? There's a skill gap out there. Employers are hiring, but are Americans trained? And let me tell you, you go to those other countries, even communist countries, right? They're not playing. They're training their people. They're giving them whatever they need so that they're smart enough to be propelled for the future. So we have to tap into that American exceptionalism that we talk about, right? And put it to work. So that's economics. Real quick, just to run down two more is in New Jersey, we have the highest property tax, the highest. We get taxed more than anybody in the 51 states. And there was an article that came out recently within the last 2-3 weeks that said New Jersey has the highest taxes, right? And it's insane. It's insane. How do you get ahead? Like, for example, if a guy works at, I don't know, he making minimum wage is going to be about $15 an hour, right? He works at Walmart. He saves up his money. He goes, I want to invest in the stock market. He invests in Bitcoin. Boom. He makes $5,000 in profit. Now he has to pay 40 cents on the dollar for that $5,000. How does he get ahead? He's doing what's required, right? You're supposed to live the American dream. He's doing that, and now he has to pay 40 cents on the dollar. He just took the risk, took his money, put it at the ultimate risk, and he benefited, and now he has to pay $40 cents on the dollar. And it's like, well, you got to give it to somebody less fortunate. Well, I am less fortunate. You know what I mean? So you got to look, you have to look at lower taxes. And number 3, which is very important, I need people to listen. Conservative environmentalism. Now listen, there is a lot of Republicans don't know this. I need them to listen. There is numerous amounts of conservative organizations that deal with the environment, but they put forth free market solutions to our environment problem. So we don't need the left. There's no reason for the left to dominate that conversation. And I'm pretty sick of it. Anytime you think of the environment, what do people think of? Oh, the left. That's the left issue. That's a left issue. That's not true. That is not true. There are many conservative activists that have put forth intelligent conservative values to the environment. And we need to let the voters know that those options are out there. you don't have to say, well, I don't want to believe in the environment. We can believe in the environment. We could be conservative and say, hey, I care about animals. I care about the ocean, right? I care about my drinking water. We can do that as conservatives, and we have the intellectual capacity to do it. So the left, we cut that conversation off. They don't have to dominate that conversation. And that's 3 of my biggest platforms. There's more, but I don't want to talk too much.
No, those are important. I'm not a big, how do I want to say it? I do agree with you that the right and right-leaning people, especially politicians, should be more immersed in things that are happening with the environment. But I'm more of like, I'm going to go to the root of it. And people don't like that. People don't like when you talk about something that like they really enjoy or it's something that's been a part of their life for so long that they feel like it's an attack more than like, hey, just look here. The meat industry is one of the top contributing factors to what's happening with our ozone layers, to what's happening with the Amazons, because they're knocking all this stuff down. The ocean, overfishing. They don't want to have those conversations because those big corporations and those big companies, the right and the left, they benefit and profit off of it.
Right. And
those are the hard conversations.
Right. No, I mean, they are hard conversations, right? I mean, there's a lot of propaganda out there that'll scare people and say, hey, listen, you're going to everybody in the world is going to have to be vegetarian. And I don't think, no, seriously, there's a lot of propaganda out there. And nobody is saying that. But what we are saying is that we have to hold these people accountable. If they're making billions of dollars, but it's at the expense of your family, they're poisoning your drinking water while making $1 billion, there has to be some balance, right? And we're not, and I'm not advocating anybody being vegetarian. What I'm saying is hold people accountable. Let's use the free markets and the right way to control these things to make sure, because I'm pretty sure even your viewers who's listening now, they're going, yeah, I'm conservative, but I got a dog or a cat, right? I have to step outside in the morning and breathe in oxygen. So yes, I care about those issues, but your audience doesn't want to feel like, okay, do I have to bow to the leftist agenda? And you don't. So I'm pretty sure your viewers would appreciate that. Hey, yeah, we're doing cleanups. We're cleaning up, like a viewer said, plastic out of the ocean. We're making sure these companies are pushing more maybe grass-fed animals, making sure they're not pumping these animals up, right? Facts. To where you don't know what you're eating anymore. So it's about accountability, and that's a part of my platform is let's hold these people accountable, not changing America. I'm a government official. I'm not here to tell you how to live or force you, but we are here to make sure that people are held accountable and they're not killing people off in the pursuit of making money. You have to protect life, and protecting life comes in different forms.
Yeah, it's true. If you haven't, go watch this documentary called Cowspiracy. I was like, I'm not watching this. He's talking about meat because I used to eat a lot of meat. I did. Right. I grew up eating it. I grew up eating the traditional soul food that a lot of Black families make. And eventually I just had to, you just come to terms with it. Like, wow, okay, this is not sustainable. So how can we fix it?
Don't talk bad about my soul food now.
I got you. Since we're on the topic of Steve is grilling a steak. Nice, Steve. Say thank you to the cow. It's gonna move while it's on the grill. Say thank you. Since we're on the topic of, I mentioned soul food, we could talk about the diversity. This is something that I'm going to be really hitting hard for the next month. When you look at conservatism, and please, nobody get offended. I'm the last person that believes in race, period. I don't like the whole white black thing. I think there are some amazing white people out there, just like I think there are amazing Black folks. But one thing that we can't ignore is the lack of diversity within the Republican Party. And I know a lot of others have expressed the same concerns. Like when you look at conservatism, and you think about it as a whole, Angela Stanton doesn't really pop in everybody's minds unless you know her, unless you've heard of her.
Right.
Kit Cunningham doesn't pop in your head, and he's a big conservative, but he doesn't have, not that I'm saying that everybody should get the national stage, you should get the national platform. I'm specifically just talking about the way the Republican Party operates. It's a very clear distinction. And for me, it's almost like, if we're all inclusive, if we're the party of just basic morals, why don't we have more representation? And it could be that more people aren't running, but these conversations, I think, are super important.
No, I mean, diversity, like you said, or what they call big tent Republicanism, it's definitely important, and it's definitely needed. But the truth of the matter is that we have to meet people where they at, right? Yes. And meeting people where they at means that we have to put ourselves in an uncomfortable situation, right? You see a lot of Republicans, they try to do some form of outreach. They'll say, well, you know, Republicans used to be the party of anti-slavery and Abraham Lincoln, and all of those stuff is good, but the truth is it's not enough, right? In the political world, we deal with what's currently going on. What are you doing for me right now, right? All of the rhetoric is cool, but the truth is you have to meet people where they're at and have any uncomfortable conversation. So what that means is that the truth of the matter is we're going to have a discussion about race, right? We're going to have a discussion about civil rights. We're going to have a discussion about the educational gap, right? And when having that discussion, it has to come heart to heart, person to person. It can't be rhetoric to rhetoric. Like, oh yeah, well, you're failing, you know, because you're lazy, and you know that stuff is not going to work, right? You have to get in the community and be a part of the community, right? Like, for example, I put a post up. Tim Scott said something where he wanted to go visit the family of George Floyd, right? I said, that's a perfect, I think it's a perfect opportunity. Listen, let's sit down and talk, right? Because if I live in a community, whether you agree with what the police did or not, there's somebody in your community that lost a son and they're hurting, right? Yeah. So for you to dismiss this person and feel like, well, I don't ideologically agree with them, so I'm not going to visit them in their pain, is a big mistake on a Republican.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go see that person, say, hey, listen, how are you feeling? What can I do to ease your pain? This is the people still want compassion from their leaders, whether you agree with them or not. Compassion is free. Compassion is free. We got to get out there and see those people, right? We got to have the conversations. And listen, we all know slavery is something that happened, right? We all know Jim Crow is a historical fact, right? We have to look at, okay, what happened in the past and what effect does it have on today's society, and how we can create more opportunities. See, a lot of people in the Republican Party, they have trouble approaching it because they feel like, well, in order for me to approach it, I have to be full on left wing, right? That's not true. You can still have innovative conservative policies. Let's come to the table with the Black community, create new innovative policies, take a broad consensus, and let's have that heart to heart, right? Like, listen, if something happened to you, let's have a conversation about it, right? I mean, all of the you can't bash nobody into a vote, right? It just doesn't work. You can't say, well, you're a loser and, you know, you're lazy and all this. And so you're going to vote Republican this November. It just doesn't work. But what works is having listen, people got to understand. Let me tell you something. No, seriously. People need to hear this. There was a dude on my Facebook account. He was bashing me. I mean, really bashing me. He said, I'm an independent. I don't mess with the Republican Party. Who are you? And what are you doing? I mean, he was pouring it on thick. And I stopped him and I said, hey, listen, I'm a Republican activist. This Saturday, I'm going to be out here handing out books to kids, making sure the kids are reading and know how to read and educated. I'm going to be feeding the homeless. So if you want to know what I got to do, you can come down here and see me face to face and engage in the work that I'm doing. That's how we need to approach people. I can't talk you into it, but you can come down here to this soup kitchen and be a part of helping somebody, right? You can give to somebody in need, because that's what I'm going to be doing. And your work will speak for you. That's what's going to speak for you. I'm in the worst parts, talking to grieving mothers. I'm helping out with the funerals. This is how we're going to get the vote. All this dumb rhetoric will not get you to vote. I don't care what your campaign manager says. I don't care what your favorite commentator says on Fox News. This is going to get you to vote. Do you have the courage to stand in front of a grieving mother whose son has been killed by the cops? Do you have the courage? Because if you don't, you're not going to get the vote. I guarantee you.
Facts.
And
look, that was a mic drop. It's true.
Listen, let me tell you something.
Man.
Listen, let me tell you something. You can go on my page right now, Seifer for NJ, Seifer for Assembly on Facebook. Scroll down and watch my interview with none other than the NAACP chapter in my area. I said, set up the interview. I want to have the conversation. I want to have the conversation. And it's going to take more Black Republicans to do that. And that might require you to want to step away from the limelight, right? It's not a popularity contest. If you really want to be a leader, it may mean that you can't be the most popular face in the room. That can't be your agenda. That can't be your agenda. Your agenda has to be actually working for the people. Actually working for the people. Right?
Thanks.
Like for example, in the NAACP meeting, the lady asked me, said, listen, you know, Tim Scott drew some controversy. He said that America is not a systematically racist country. They said, well, what do you think about that? And you know, from coming from the NAACP to a Black Republican, that sounds like a trap question, you know? Oh my God. So I said, listen, it's not a trap question for me, because I said, listen, everybody is allowed their own opinion. This is America, right? My only thing, what I said, if I was Tim Scott, was that you can have your opinion, but you still have to let people know that if some wrong was done, I don't care who is by, nobody's above the law, point blank. He's allowed to believe that he don't believe that America is not a racist country, right? But what he can do is assure people that if your son was killed unjustly, we're going to get justice. Because what happens is, if you leave your words open to interpretation, people take your words and run with it. So now they're going to feel like you believe that America is not racist. And then if my son gets hurt, you're not going to do anything. So I don't want people to get it confused that if I'm in a Black neighborhood and somebody gets hurt, justice and law still applies to everybody, whether you're a public servant and that's the problem that people have, because they feel like we live in a society where if you're a regular Joe Smo, you do something, you're going to jail. If you're a politician or somebody in power, you skate. People getting frustrated.
Yeah.
So how do you expect people to feel? And this is the type of conversation that I have with the NAACP. These are the type of conversations I have. And you know what? People respect me when I'm honest. I say, listen, I speak truth. And sometimes, I'm not going to lie, I piss some people off in my own camp. But one thing you cannot do, you can't go against your values. Listen, I got a wife and 4 kids. I got to go home and sleep at night. So even though I'm running for office, I can't say nothing that's going to go against myself, because long after this is over, the internet plays forever and people can keep sharing forever and ever. And I got to live and die by the words that I said. So, and real quick, before I know you get into the next segment, the Republican Party, and this is the God's honest truth, the Democratic Party, and I'm not bigging them up, I'm just telling what it is. They're a well-oiled machine.
Oh, yes. The
Republican Party has a lot of internal problems, right? There's no foundation, right? Even in New Jersey, there's a lot of committee seats, right? That's not being filled. There's no neighborhood networking going on. The one thing that the left has done, and they've done it very brilliantly since the 60s, they've locked down all of the cultural institutions.
Absolutely.
It's to a point now where they don't even have to campaign because all of the nonprofits do it for them.
Yep.
And we have to get out there and fight that. Let me tell you something. I tell people this all the time. If there's a guy, he's a voter, right? And a nonprofit organization comes to him and he's at his worst moment, can't feed his kids, and say, listen, we're from a nonprofit organization. We're going to pay your rent and make sure your kids have food. And say, why are you doing this? Man, we're doing this to help you. And our allies are Cory Booker or Maxine Waters, right? Yeah. They're telling you those are the good guys. But let me tell you something. If that guy is paying your rent and he helped you out when nobody did, it's game over. Who do you think he's voting for? He's voting for the guy that paid his rent and told him that Maxine Waters is the good person. This is common sense stuff. Because when he didn't have anything, who was there for him? We got to get out in the community. That's why I said Republican activism has to be a way of life. If you don't get out there and you're not willing to help people, people remember the people that helped them. Trust me. People remember the people that help you. And I'm not saying we have to become like Democrats and give away a bunch of free stuff. But what I am saying is that we have to be activists and fight for a community and be willing to extend the olive branch to the people that live amongst us. Because the left dominates the culture so much. Unless you're willing to fight that battle, and when I say fight the battle, I don't mean with rhetoric. I mean getting out there and letting people see who you are and being willing to help, it's a lost cause. It's a lost cause. They're going to see you as a Republican and say, you just like Trump or anybody else. And this has happened to me multiple times, but I have to stop people and let them know this is my platform and this is what I stand for. And then they say, okay, I see you about your business. Yeah. And this is what I got to do to people all the time. And it's only because people have preconceived notions and you have to break those.
Yep. Well, you said it. You said it best. It's just about meeting people where they are. That's what when you think about it, because we're a Christian-based organization. That's what Jesus did. Yeah. Jesus hung out with what we would call the modern day drug addict, the prostitute, the pimp, whoever. But the left is and I've said this on all of my shows, they're dominating culture. Yeah. This is why I give Trump credit. Number one, he asked Black folks, what do you have to lose by voting for me? You've been voting for the same thing for years, and there's no progression. I respected him for that. I respect Candace Owens for like busting through culture. Everybody knows Candace Owens. She gets a bad rap for what she says, but you know who she is. Right. And I've said this a bunch of times. We should, and I used to say, let me not even say used to. I feel like, why go back? But talking to you, I now understand why it is nice to go back, regardless of what they're going to say to you or about you or how they're going to treat you. Yeah. Well, you do have to extend that olive branch, because I've been like, I'm not going back. They wouldn't appreciate anything I did, so I'm good.
You got to remember, it's like I said, people already have a preconceived notion of the Republican Party, and especially of Black Republicans, right? And unfortunately, we're a new generation of Black Republicans. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, because you got to remember something, this whole thing with the Republican Party being racist, that's a narrative that's been going on for 40 years. And the leaders of the party, either they was too scared or maybe they didn't have the manpower. They never dealt with it. That's why we're dealing with it. They never dealt with it, because the whole narrative that Republicans are racist, they've been saying that since Reagan was president. And how many years that? What's that, 40 years? So crazy. The party never came up with an adequate strategy to deal with it. So that's why we're the new generation of leaders, and that's why we're dealing with it.
Well, you just tackled all of our topics. Well, we'll close with this one because we're almost at our 30-minute mark. Okay. I was reading my phone the other day. Okay. And I said, my husband, we were talking, I'm like, wow, look at this. And I showed him a picture of Kamala Harris and her very tone deaf tweet. Mm-hmm. And he was like, Yeah, it's no different than, the left freaking out over stupid things. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's not acknowledging the fact that we have Memorial Day. He's like, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. But why is there such a visceral response? And I'm like, I had to really think about it. It's
Mm-hmm.
not giving her a pass. It's not saying that she's not right. I mean, she's not wrong for what she said because she is the VP and she's a representative of our country. She should
Mm-hmm.
definitely see Happy Memorial Day and acknowledge all those people.
Mm-hmm.
But us reacting, going to attack, it's all over headlines that the VP didn't say Happy Memorial Day. We're no better than the left. Like, we're no better than the left.
Right.
Why is this headline news? She didn't say it. I get it.
Yeah. Me personally, my personal feelings about the topic is that I think I told you this backstage. Part of the backlash is that the Democratic Party as a whole is kind of anti-military, right? They
Yes.
kind of devalue the service of the military. Like when you come into the Democratic Party, you don't get a feeling that they hold people who in the military at a very high regard. I'm talking about like in the Republican Party, when you see a military person, the Republican Party, they get up and they salute,
Yes.
right? Military service, sacrificing your life is a big deal. So some people take it as a slap in the face. And unfortunately, when you're one of the biggest, when you hold one of the biggest seats in the most powerful country, people want you to comment on various subjects, right? It's kind of like, for example, with Kamala Harris, she almost got eaten by her own. You go back to the comments with Tim Scott. If you remember, she agreed with Tim Scott. She was like, well, I don't think America is inherently racist either. And she got bashed by her own constituents. They was like, oh man, they stopped short of calling her a sellout. Oh, she got in that office and, she was a sellout. So it just comes down to people want their leaders to address things that they think is important. So
Facts. And she should have addressed it. This is what I mean. Like you say, this is a perfect example. You say one thing that the people that subscribe to you, they follow you say one thing that they don't like, and
yeah,
already, like, look at these comments. Just lost me. Like, we're not all allowed to have an opinion on something. We're not allowed to comment and say what we think on it. If we all thought the same, we would be no different than the left. I'm trying to show people that it's starting to turn into a mirror image of the opposite side. We're just attaching morals and God to our stuff.
right.
I'm not a lefty, okay? I'm right leaning. There are a lot of things with the Republican Party that I absolutely do not like. And we should have constructive criticism. But you can't get mad and freak out because somebody said one thing you don't like. Like, you can't do that.
Right. Well, like you said, this is a free country and everybody's allowed their opinion. And I always believe, and I think I said this backstage, everything in life is about delivery, right? And I do think that the Republican Party is ripe for reform, right? They want a new crop of leaders that's going to bring in young people, right? Fresh energy, young energy, and nobody likes to feel like they're being bashed or belittled, right? So I think that delivery is everything. But I do believe that the Republican Party is looking for that turning point where we can bring in the young, where we can bring in the minorities. And believe it or not, one thing I've learned by being in this party for years, the people that you think or they give you the image that they have so much control and they know everything. A lot of those leaders don't know what they're doing. And a lot of times, believe it or not, that's why things don't get done. Because a lot of these so-called leaders, whether they're congressmen, state party leaders, some of them are clueless on certain issues. And then you're sitting back like, damn, why are they not taking action? Some of them don't know what to do. So we need new energy and we need new leadership. And that's why I'm running for assemblyman in District 22 in New Jersey, so I can deal with those state issues. I want to get a broad consensus, right? I want to speak to the minority community. I want to speak to the Asian American. I want to speak to the Italian community or, very diverse community. I want to know what the people want, and I want to sit down and hopefully deal with this toxic environment that I'm walking into, because New Jersey is majority Democrat rule, right? And I want to see if the Democrats got the guts to give the people, the will of the people, what they want. Because contrary to popular opinion, Democrats are also the party of big pharma, right? And wealthy donors. You got to look it up. You got to look it up. So, you know, yeah. Hold on. Somebody said if there's a number of things you don't like about being God-fearing, everyone.
Did I say I didn't like being conservative?
Oh, well, you know, like we said, man, I mean, everybody have their own opinion, but the point is that I believe that in states like New York and states like New Jersey and states like California, we can win, but it's going to take all of us coming out. It's going to take all of us. We go in these states. If you live in New Jersey, you live in California, you live in Connecticut, every Republican has to have it in their heart that every election cycle, I'm going to vote. Every election cycle, not when it's only exciting. Because I know a lot of times local races are kind of boring, right? It's not as a, you don't get the excitement like a presidential race. But I'm going to do my civic duty and vote every election. And that's how the Democrats win. They know low election year, they're not going to come out. We got to come out, and we got to make sure we're getting those independents that understand what we're about, you know, and we have to put up new leadership and new energy and unique candidates that believe in a diverse set of ideals that people could say, you know what? These guys are forward thinkers, right? They're not cookie cutter politicians saying the same thing that every Republican say or talking the same way that every Republican talk. People are looking for new energy. They're looking for the passionate leadership. And that's what I really bring to the table. So I hope all of the people that live in New Jersey, I'm in District 22. You can go on my page, Seifer for NJ, Seifer for Assembly, and scroll through my page. If you want to donate, you can donate. If not, like I said, my name is David Seifer. It's right there. If you want to private message me, help out any way you can, I'll be more excited. And that's what I think the party's going to need in a nutshell.
Facts. Well, thank you for being here, David. We appreciate you.
Man, I thank you for having me. You know, I love these passionate conversations. You know, that's why I get
Yes, we
all
need more
riled
of
up.
them. We need more of them. Thank you
Yes.
for being here. I'm going to pull you down and we'll close out the show. Everybody, let's say bye and thank you to David. We'll be talking. I would like to have you on Hot Mic. I'm trying to get other Black conservatives together to have these uncomfortable, needed conversations because we have
Yeah.
to have them.
Yeah, very true. And I just want to say, all of those that tuned in, I thank you for your feedback. I thank you for your comments. And if you want to, private message me if you need more information. And like I said, please go to my website if you have time. Thank you.
That was a good show. It was a good conversation. It's much needed. I'm going to be talking about the lack of diversity. I'm just going to address this comment because this is what happens when you have a criticism of conservatives or Republicans. You know, you can have all the criticism in the world for a Democrat, for a liberal, and anybody that doesn't necessarily line up with our views, but you can't have them of your own people. And I think that's a dangerous, very crazy path to go down. I never said I don't like being conservative. I absolutely do. It's a way of life. It's not a title. It's a lifestyle. God, family, country. I believe in those three things very heavily. God-fearing, I don't know where that came from. And if I never were, am I now political? I'm the least political person. No politician will get on here and say what I've said because they would be afraid of the backlash. And you know what? It's going to happen. I welcome it because we're not all going to agree, which is fine. I never said give Kamala a pass. What I said was, why is this headline news? We have more important things going on rather than what the hell Kamala is tweeting on social media. those things seem extremely petty to me when I look at the grand scheme of things. You know, when I look at these big organizations like BLM, they're thriving in the country. They're going on. We just had the co-founder, not even just had it, but a while ago, she got caught saying she doesn't stand for Israel. Those things are more important to me. The fact that we have a border crisis, those things are more important to me. I'm more concerned with how do we reach the younger demographic, because they're going to be growing up and they're going to take over when we're all gone. Those things matter to me. Kamala Harris, we all know what we're getting when it comes to her. It's not a surprise, and it shouldn't have been shocking once we saw the tone-deaf tweet that she put out. She's a Democrat. They don't appreciate our military. So instead of complaining, why don't we show how much we appreciate our military and show them different from the Democrat Party? I didn't even talk about it because she's really a non-factor for me. She's there. And I do believe eventually she will have the presidential seat because Joe Biden's not going to last. But that's petty on a grand scale of what's happening. Like, it's a tweet. She sucks for the tweet. But our world is not going to fall apart because Kamala Harris said what she said. Period, point blank. Let me look at some of these. God, family, country, in that order. Facts. It's not a label. Sorry, I didn't see these. Thank you, Bill. We have bigger fish to fry. Who? As far as I'm concerned, it's this all day to Kamala. Like, who? I don't care. Cackling Kamala Harris. Geez Louise. No, they don't. I back them. Amen. We should not give Kamala or Joe our attention when they are not putting America first. Now, that doesn't mean that you completely turn a blinder to what they're doing. But what you do is you pay attention to the things that are super important, things that are impertinent, things that are going to help us grow our voting base. Things like he said, I didn't agree with, I didn't agree with, I don't even want to call it a handout because the way he described it was actually, it was perfect. You do have to meet people where they are. I don't agree with the way of going about it, but I definitely think that we do need to, as Republicans, as conservatives, we're talking to our politicians, we need to get more immersed in culture. Culture. That's the only thing that's going to save us at this point is meeting people where they are. And we can't have our nose stuck up. We just can't. I just put myself out for criticism when I said, I have said for so long, what is the point in going back to my old community and helping the people that don't give a crap, you know, and I can help them all I want. They're still going to see me as a sellout and a racist. But then he really just gave me a reality check. It's not about popularity. It's not about what people think of you. It's not about any of that. It's about you showing and proving. If you care and you want these people to vote, you have to get out there and show them you care and meet them where they are. So I'm going to take that stance from this point on because I literally never even thought about that. I never even viewed it that way because I do get frustrated with the Black community. I do get frustrated having to constantly defend the fact that I'm Black. Like, I never thought I would have to do that so much for them to even want to listen to me. But I'm going to try as hard as I can to meet them where they are. No, we might not agree with everything, but having a conversation, which is something we advocate for big on Primetime Patriots, partnering with Be the Change, these conversations are needed. They're super important. So the more we find where we agree, I think the better off we'll be. We have to stop. And Chelly did a real, I love this video that she did. Unfortunately, she was crying. It made me sad because that's my bestie. I love her. I pray for her daily because she's a police officer and she's out here facing these crazy stereotypes and narratives placed upon her by the media. But she did a show and she said, we're always at the young kids that, that mess up. We're always at the gangs that are in the streets, but we don't really pay attention to the parents or hold the parents accountable for why they even ended up in that situation. And I had to agree with her. What are you doing as a mom and a dad? Do you need help? I know growing up, my mom raised me with the tools that she was given. A lot of times they don't know any better because this is all they know. So let's try meeting people where they are. I know I'm going to start doing that. I don't know about you guys. I thank you for being here. I wanted to address that comment because I look at things at a very broad view most of the time. And I catch flack for it because sometimes the amount of empathy that people want is not there. But Kamala Harris's tweet, I could really care less about. My husband's an active duty service member. My brother-in-law, I have a lot of veteran uncles. A few have died. So military is ingrained in my family and it's appreciated. And I'm definitely America first. And being America first is not bothering yourself with the likes of Kamala Harris and her dry ass tweet about having a long weekend. The best thing you can do for her is tell her where to go. And you know what? You lift the military up. You lift the police up. You back the blue. All these people that matter to you, you make sure you highlight them. And the party that we decide to vote for, they should be aligning up with those very same views. Okay? I hope everybody understands. I hope you are all having a great Memorial Day. If you're all cooking out, please enjoy the food. Don't feel a type of way about the meat conversation we had. It's just looking at things at a broad view and just accepting them for what they are. Thank you for being here with me. I appreciate you. I'm out.